regular board business meeting to order. And I'm going to ask the controller, who is sitting in for the treasurer, to call the roll.
President Baker.
Present.
Mr. Brown. Here. Vice President Cole.
Here.
Ms. Gibbs. Here. Mr. Ragland.
Here.
Ms. Reyes. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Mr. Controller. Thank you, colleagues. I'm going to ask, because I do believe we have some students here with us this evening, I'm going to ask these students to come to the podium and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Some students and others related to a resolution we're going to offer here at 5:30. Alexis Dunkel, B.T. Jones, Joe Rubel, please come up to the podium. I'm going to ask you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Parker Wilkinson, Jack O'Shaughnessy, Gracie Barton, Lila Hahn, Caitlin Keegan, and anyone else who is here for our celebration of Pride Month that we'll do at 5:30. All right, I'm going to ask you all to come right up to the podium. I'm going to ask everyone else to please be upstanding. And as soon as everyone stands up, please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You may take your seats. All right, thank you very much for doing that, and we'll be back to you around 5:30 when we begin the, hopefully begin the regular portion of the meeting. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion from Vice President Cole.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is recommended that the Board of Education recess into executive session per Section 121.22 G4 Ohio Revised Code to prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms or conditions of their employment.
Ms. Dare?
Yes.
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Ragland?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Motion carries.
The board will now recess into executive session. We hope to return to these chambers at approximately 5:30 to begin the regular meeting. Thank you very much.
Faster.
Let's reconvene, colleagues. All right, at this time, thank you for your patience very much. Thank you, members of the audience, for your patience. All right, at this time, I would like to have the board adopt the agenda as I'm going to state. Would like to rename section, or add section 6 with the name Board Matters, and add Resolution 6.1 related to CEA negotiations, and then have everything else renumbered +1 from there. So is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Seeing no questions, Mr. McCammon?
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Ragland?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And colleagues, just very briefly, I'm going to read through the agenda now, just so everyone knows the work we have before us. We have a special board recognition up after this, and after that we will hear public comment. We do have 2 speakers signed up. We will then hear our direct reports, after which we will take up our consent agenda, after which we will hear points of pride and announcements from board members, after which we will recess again into executive session. So having said that, thank you very much. Let's move into section 5, board recognitions. So we have a resolution to commemorate June as Pride Month, and I have a few introductory comments, and then Board Member Reyes will introduce the resolution. This is the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall uprisings in New York City. In honor of that historic moment, we have a resolution to commemorate that day and June as Pride Month. Here to receive the resolution is A.J. Casey, Executive Director of Stonewall Columbus. And come on up, please, as I call your name. Thank you very much. and Columbus City Schools students that have been participating in the Pride Parade the last couple of years. They are all of those individuals who helped us with the Pledge of Allegiance earlier. Alexis Dunkel, who is a Briggs High School grad, B.T. Jones, Fort Hays grad, Joe Rubel, Parker Wilkinson, Jack O'Shaughnessy, Gracie Barton, Lila Hahn, they're all CGA students. Caitlin Keegan, who's a Whetstone High School student. And as they make their way up, I've got just a few very brief comments to share. Discrimination, bigotry, and prejudice against the members and supporters of our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, intersex, and asexual community in this district and our city, just simply unacceptable. And I'm so proud to be part of an organization that was one of the first in the city to take a strong stance against discrimination and harassment of those in the LGBTQIA community. I'm also very proud to have voted with my colleagues to expand that earlier policy to include gender identity and expression in our last revision of our board policy manual. Our strong support and participation in the Pride Parade and celebration of Pride Month each June is just one example of our collective stand for and with the LGBTQIA community in our district. We want to make sure that we are maintaining and growing our support for our LGBTQIA students, staff members, and greater Columbus community through continued vigilance in these difficult times. And with that, I'm going to ask Board Member Reyes to offer a resolution.
Thank you, President Baker. I need my glasses. Whereas Columbus City Schools as a community values human rights above all the respects, the dignity and worth of each individual. The Columbus Board of Education has been at the forefront of ensuring equal rights and defending against discrimination for students, staff, and families who are part of our city's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, intersex, and asexual community. As one of the first public employers to offer domestic partner benefits as early adopters of protections in the workplace and at the school level on sexual orientation and gender identification, and a growing participation in the annual Stonewall Columbus Pride Parade. June 2019 marks the 50th anniversary of the June 1969 Stonewall uprisings in Greenwich Village, New York City, New York. Progress at the federal level has provided for protections, including the recent passage of the Equality Act by the United States House of Representatives to ban anti-LGBTQIA discrimination in this country. And whereas, despite these advances, LGBTQIA community continues to face unchecked legal discrimination in employment, healthcare, housing, and public accommodations, to face efforts to reverse history, like the current federal administration's reinstatement of the failed Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy in the United States military, and to face an increased risk for bullying, substance abuse, depression, homelessness, and suicide among our LGBTQIA youth. And June has become a symbolic month in which LGBTQIA people and their allies have come together in various celebrations of Pride. Recognizing Pride Month will help foster an atmosphere of inclusion, acceptance, celebration, voice, and education across our community. So whereas the Columbus City Schools Board of Education is committed to the spirit of success that is only attainable through equal rights and through our collective staunch opposition to discrimination in any form based on race, sex, sexual orientation, religion, color, national origin, age, gender identity or expression, ancestry, familial status, military status, disability, genetic information, citizenship status, or any other legally protected category. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Columbus Board of Education does hereby honor and recognize the month of June as Pride Month.
Mr. Controller, call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Ms. Adair. President Baker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you, colleagues. All right. All right. Executive Director Casey, would you mind sharing a few words?
Thank you, and good evening. President Baker, Vice President Cole, Treasurer, I need my glasses too, Internal Auditor Smith, members of the board, and Deputy Superintendent, Dr. John Stanford. Thank you so very much for giving us this opportunity. 50 years ago, when the police raided the Stonewall Inn on that fateful night in June 1969, they were carrying out people because of the way they were dressed, because of who they were dancing with inside the Stonewall Inn. They were carrying out people because they didn't live up to the standards that they had set. And one of the people that they carried out was a transgender person of color who, when she came outside, she looked at the amassing crowd and said, "What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about this?" And with those fateful, powerful words, launched what became known as the Stonewall Riots and set into motion all of the processes, all of the movements, all of the parades, all of the marches, all of the people standing united to stand up in the gay rights movement. And today, 50 years later, we at Stonewall Columbus still carry on that bold tradition. We've come a long way in 50 years, a long, long way. We've got elected public officials. We've got support now where in the 60s and before we had only enemies. We have hundreds of thousands of supporters and friends, school children and teachers and administrators who come to celebrate this beautiful day we call Pride Columbus. And it is because strong leaders like yourselves step forward and say, it's simply unfair. It's simply unfair to deny people housing or health care or education or public accommodations because of who they love or how they dress or how they identify or how they express themselves. And so this day is as big of a day for you, for all of us in Columbus, because of your leadership. And all of us at Stonewall Columbus, all of us who stand to march, all of us who benefit from your leadership, I say thank you on behalf of Stonewall Columbus and Sabrina Boykin, who plans this whole parade at a tender, well, I won't tell you how young she is because it'll tell you how old I am. But on behalf of the city of Columbus and everybody who comes to Pride, I say thank you very much for your leadership. Thank you from my heart.
And is there anyone else who wanted to share any comments? All right, I'll ask you all to come up to the front. We're going to take a photograph with you if you don't mind. And then I'll ask my colleagues if they have comments after the photo. Come on up.
Up there. Yeah, stage. We're trying to stage. Trust us on this. Trust us on this. You can stand on stage. Yes. We can jump. Come on, come on.
That's right.
Lisa, what?
You made an executive decision.
We're gonna be in the middle.
Very good. I'm sure it's on the back here.
You guys can go up there.
I can get
I
over
guarantee you guys can go in the front. Come on over here.
Yeah, you come over here.
I'll come over with you. Come on in. You wanna go?
Who wants to be with me to hold the?
All right. See, I still think you're going Okay, so. She said she wants
My
to be.
waist being too big.
You want to rearrange us?
I feel like that.
You want to rearrange us?
We need some people on this side.
Sir, come over this way.
Serve
Go
me.
in the back.
Casey, can you come in the middle? Okay, then scooch in just a little bit more. Yes, yes, there you go. There you go. There we go. Is that true? Because I'm short, yeah, because I'm short enough. We're short enough.
1, 2, 3.
All right.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate this too.
We're gonna give, so we didn't do that.
Colleagues, any remarks related to the adoption of that resolution? Board Member Brown?
Thank you. This one's important. As I listened on Saturday evening to former Vice President Joe Biden speak about this month and about this movement and its importance, he described it as the third big civil rights movement. And I think we need to treat it. And this is going to be something that we need to pursue for a long time. I don't know that we will ever fully be completed with civil rights work. But whether it's the civil rights work of the 60s with African American community, the work of the 70s with women, and we're not done with either of those. We're far from done. This is a third very important group that deserves protection, deserves to be treated respectfully by all of society. It matters in how we teach our students. It matters in how we treat each other. And I thought too that this work doesn't go away, despite the conditions that we're in at the moment, coming from DC, and despite one of the things that I wanted to include here, and we did, was citizenship status. That in addition to every other protected class, we have to be kind and compassionate with all those that are perceived to be different in some fashion. And citizenship status these days is also one of the important ones. So I'm really pleased that we've taken the step past this resolution, but that we dedicate ourselves to always standing strongly against discrimination in all forms. Not speaking up against it is not quite as bad, perhaps, but it's complicit in the discriminatory acts themselves.
And I did speak with Mr. Brown earlier, who chairs our Policy Review Committee, and he indicated his willingness to take this up because some of those items that we added aren't necessarily in our policy at this time, and so PRC is going to take that up. So I appreciate that leadership, Mr. Brown. Colleagues, other comments? Yes, Board Member Reyes.
So I was trying to look up our values, and because we use the word love in one of our values, and I felt it was important for us to do this resolution tonight and also talk about where the board stands on this. And I think I want to make sure that the board, that our students and our staff understand and hear us clearly. We love our students. period. I know this was very long and very formal, but it's period. Students came and asked, are we going to be able to walk again now with a change of administration? It's one of our values. Love is one of our values. So I just want to reiterate to those who showed concern in the community about whether we would support you, and we do support you, and we will continue to love you no matter what changes.
Thank you, Board Member Reyes. Board Member Gibbs.
Yes, and I think, thank you, Board Member Reyes. And where you might not find it in our values, you definitely find it in our mission statement. And that is each student is highly educated, prepared for leadership and service, and empowered for success as a citizen in a global community. And we are all in one global community. And each one of our students and each one of their advocates and each one of their supporters and each one of their champions have a place in our mission and in our district. And as long as we champion the success of each student, then there is a place to be proud, and there is a place for pride. There's a place for people of color, and there's a place for women and men. There's a place for everyone who believes and support what we believe in, that all children should learn. And when they are surrounded by people they love, they thrive. And that when they are supported, then we can overcome those barriers of depression, of neglect, of ostracism. And so I am glad, and I support this resolution and the work, the continued work of all of our allies across our entire district, and especially of our young people who need an extra set of hands, an extra set of hugs, and an extra set of love to help them through an already tough journey. So I congratulate the ones with the courage and the ones who have the courage to stand by them, our allies and our friends. And I hope that this serves, again, as you said, a demonstration of our leadership and commitment to our kids and to our community.
Thank you, Board Member Gibbs. Any other comments? Yes, Board Member Adair.
Yes, thank you. As a diversity and inclusion professional, I absolutely support this resolution. Our LGBTQ community, especially our children, are at high risks of suicide and dropping out of school and just, being homeless. There's a lot that faces our kids. And it's important that we recognize that and we take steps, especially as a board, to make sure we have strong policy and strong resources in our schools, working with our community partners such as Kaleidoscope to make sure that our kids have all of the resources that they need. I would also like to encourage everyone to be an upstander. We all control the environment and culture around us, every single person. If you don't like what's going on, and it's your friend that's being bullied or targeted, stand up. Be an upstander for your own school culture. So I really, I agree as well that we need to take a look at our policy and make sure that we are including everyone that needs to be there, because discrimination, harassment, bullying have no place in Columbus City schools.
Mm-hmm. Hear, hear. Board Member Reyes, I believe you found what you were looking for.
I found it. Just want to make sure that people are aware that this is a board value. Board value number 3 demonstrates compassion, respect, trust, and love to each other and those we serve.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Board Member Reyes. Anything else, colleagues? Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you to those of you who came down this evening to receive this resolution. We appreciate your ongoing advocacy and support, especially as it pertains to our students. Thank you very much. Let's move on then to item 6.0, Board Matters, and 6.1, the resolution that we added earlier. That's next. Yep. So, last week, CEA publicly stated on social media and through other media outlets that they may hold a summer meeting for the purpose of issuing a 10-day notice of intent to strike if necessary. in the event that CEA chooses to strike, it's the board's responsibility to be prepared to continue ongoing school day operations. And so, as a result, I'd like to ask the Vice President to offer that motion that we added to the agenda earlier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Board of Education adopt the following resolution. The board directs the Columbus City Schools Board Superintendent to seek out and recommend to the Columbus City School Board of Education for it to consider as its June 18th meeting a professional services contract for strike contingency planning services to include, but not limited to, alternative staffing, strike coordination, and ongoing school day operations.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Yes. Mr. Brown?
Excuse me. In my view, it's very unfortunate that CEO chose last week to publicly announce and promote information about the potential of their considering a 10-day notice of intent to strike later in the summer. Last week was graduation week, a week in which our students' families and the entire school community celebrates our students' accomplishments. Respectfully, for the CEA leadership to choose last week for that particular announcement was inconsiderate at best. And our students, our families, and all of our community deserve better. We will continue, as we have, to bargain in good faith and responsibly with CEA leadership, but we will also carry out our duty, our responsibilities to educate our children, and that means that we must be prepared if CEA chooses to make good on its summer meeting for the purpose of issuing such a 10-day strike notice. Therefore, I'm in support of the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Gibbs?
You share sentiments with Board Member Brown. Last week was an amazing graduation time where everyone celebrated. We shook thousands of hands of our graduates. And so I thought the notice eclipsed the celebration in that it was challenged by the statement of the contingency of a strike. I think our negotiations are positive and we are moving forward in good faith. And no one ever wants to see a strike, right? Because it's a no-win situation for our students. They do deserve better. We have to keep them at the forefront of what we think. And so I know we'll continue to have productive engagement and discussions, but we do need to prepare and to get ready to provide a contingency to start a successful new year and be ready for our students when they return in August.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Any other comments? Board Member Ragle?
Certainly. I'd like to submit mine as a statement, sir, to be read into the record.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. In my opinion, our bargaining team is going to, of course, be directed to continue to engage in productive bargaining discussions for the best outcomes for our students and our teachers. However, given CEA's leadership's public proclamation last week, the Board of Education must be prepared to respond or take action at our next regularly scheduled meeting. It is our duty to do so. Our first priority is always the health and safety of our students and staff while they are in our care. That's what they deserve. And let's not forget, we have a student population that is high in poverty, and for a large number of our students, if they are not attending school, that means that they are not eating breakfast and lunch. There are wide-reaching effects of a strike on our students, so we must be prepared to protect them. I also am in support of this resolution.
Other comments? Colleagues? Board Member
I too, negotiations have proceeded in good faith with forward progress. Our students and their families did not deserve to hear a public statement and read and see media stories indicating CEA's leadership's desire to meet this summer for the purpose of issuing a 10-day notice of intent to strike. Our students deserve teachers in the classroom. Our students deserve a safe environment for learning and access to food and to feed both their minds and bodies. I sincerely hope that the 10-day notice of intent to strike does not become reality, but I sincerely believe that we must and we will be prepared with a contingency plan that continues our school district operations. So I also plan on supporting this resolution.
Thank you, Board Member Reyes. Any other comments, colleagues? Board Member Adair, I'm sorry.
Thank you, President Baker. I also very much agree with the comments of my colleagues this evening. I was a bit frustrated with the statement that CEA issued last week, and I will support this resolution. While it's absolutely in CEA leadership's right and choice to issue a notice to strike, it will not assist our students in meeting their academic success this fall. Our students deserve their teachers in their classrooms, and our teachers deserve to be there as well. Our families deserve to know their children are safe, secure, and receiving the education they deserve, and we promise. Our community deserves to know this board's very clear intention that we plan to ensure that our schools remain operational if a strike occurs. Tonight's resolution is absolutely necessary to ensure our district is proactively prepared to take necessary steps to give our students what they deserve if CEA decides to invoke the 10-day notice to strike. I hope our well-prepared plan is something we will not have to use.
Thank you, Board Member Adair. If there are no other comments, Mr. Controller, are you prepared to call the roll on that item? Thank you.
Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs? Mr. Ragland?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. Let's move on then to public comment. We do have two speakers this evening, and the rules of speaking before the school board, I will state your name, your topic, and your requested action. You will come to the podium and you will have 4 minutes to speak. And at the conclusion of your public testimony, I will give my colleagues the opportunity to ask any clarifying questions they may have. There will be a timer you'll see up here, so just please plan to conclude at your 4-minute limit, if at all possible. First speaker, Volina Upchurch. Topic, changing student records, board action. Provide me documentation stating that they did something in school that day, then do better at returning phone calls, including the board president. Ms. Upchurch, you may come to the podium. Thank you for being here this evening. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm coming because, as I have been here once before regarding Columbus City Schools, now they have on my trial record, I provided Mr. Baker documentation of the old reports that they had gave me, and then I picked up a new one from Mr. Hoffman today. So as I was reviewing them, because the old one states for an incident where they have a whole different another student name on both of my children's records. So I was asking them, well, how are y'all providing me this? And this say a whole nother student. No one can answer. They oh, it's an error. I'm like, well, how is it an error when all 3 students, for one, have different student ID numbers? When y'all go in there, how are y'all writing another student's on my children's records? So from there, I still haven't got an answer. So then they changed it. So when I picked it up today, I have my twins' names are Tayana and Kayana. On Tayana's, it states Kayana's name. I'm like, so what are y'all doing? Then they have on there, and y'all can look on Infinite Campus on September the 14th of 2018, my child was not even present in school. How could she admit to saying she was involved in something and she was never in school that day? When I had a meeting with Dr. Dixon, she said the same thing, like, if she wasn't there, how is she able to admit this? But they're telling me that they are not going to remove it off their records. They changed the little girl's name off of it. Like I said, both of their records now states Kayana's name. Even on Tayana's, it say Kayana was involved in, and this is on her sister's. If they're not changing records and posting things on my kids' records, then what are they doing? I provided you the old documents and I provided you the new documents on each one of my children. And so I feel like something needs to be done. They were in trouble once for changing attendance records. Now I feel like they're changing behavior records. And who goes to say if my kids are the only ones? I need answers. Like, I'm waiting for answers.
Thank you very much, Ms. Upchurch. We appreciate you coming this evening. I'm going to provide these documents you provided to me to the deputy superintendent.
He already has them. He has
does?
emailed them to me, and I'm asking the same thing, and he can't answer anything. This is why I said I don't want to speak to the superintendents. I prefer to work with the board and the president, because as the superintendents, they don't have the answers already.
All right, so what I'll commit to you is that I'll sit down with the superintendent, review these documents, and then I'll ask the superintendent to provide you feedback after that meeting.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
I'll keep hold of these. Thank
I
you
have
for
my
being
own copies.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, well, that's not our policy anymore. I should ask, are there any clarifying questions from my colleagues for Ms. Upchurch?
I have a clarifying
Board
question.
Member Gibbs?
So just so we clear, you want your records to be corrected to reflect the correct names and the correct actions that have occurred?
And I
Is that
want and I want proof, like, cause if it was on there stating a whole nother child's name, if they change it to my child's name, how do I know that it was actually my child?
Okay, so your requested action is correct name, correct information on your student.
Yes,
record.
I've been asking
Okay.
for documents and proof to back up everything that's on here. They're not providing me anything. It's not everything on my children's records, because I know when my kids get in trouble at school and when they don't. So everything that I'm not aware of, I was asking for documentation of proof, and no one seeming to be able to give me that.
Okay, thank you.
Clarifying question for the speaker from Mr. Ragland.
Yes, Ms. Upchurch?
Yes.
This incident happened in September of 2018?
Yes. I've been going through this for all school year long with Columbus City Schools. Like, I've been questioning this. You know what I'm saying? I've been having answers to Dr. Stanford, Dr. Dixon, Ms. Gillison, Mr. Hoffman, like all school year long. I've been asking this for this and all this information.
Yes, sir. Clarifying
Were there
question.
consequences levied against your students? Did they face consequences because of the write-up, is what I'm asking?
Yes. Just like when I asked them about the incident that just happened on February the 6th of 2016. They edited the video. Ms. Gillison's secretary is the one who told me that the video was edited. She said when she hit play on there, the video was already 8 minutes and something into the video, where she couldn't see the beginning of the video where the little child had hit my child first. So they edited it, only sent over what my child did.
Clarifying question.
So, yes, so because I've asked this question from here before, this seems like this is an appeal process that she's been a part of, and I've asked from here to get some clarity on what happens when a student is written up, there's a judgment made regarding discipline, and the family appeals. Because, you know, we've got now a situation where she's claiming that a name was, you know, wrongly attributed to a student. She's appealing something now. We're now at the close of the school year, and this event occurred in September. There's an efficiency problem there that I think we need to get to the bottom of as well. And so, you know, I guess my question then remains regarding our appeals process. What happens and what happens as far as restitution is concerned if it's found out that this has been on the student's record for the balance of the school year, and indeed the student did not commit the act that caused the write-up? How are we remedying that with the student and the family?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ragland. And so can I ask also, Deputy Superintendent, that you provide a response to that question to the whole board subsequent to this meeting? Any other clarifying questions? Ms. Upchurch, again, thank you. We'll be back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker, Ava Provençal McVeigh, topic, constant change of admin at Mays Elementary School. Board action, I would like the board to respond to my concern about the constant change of administration. Oh. Good evening.
I apologize.
Oh, take your time.
Good evening, President Baker, Vice President Cole, Treasurer Bahoric, Internal Auditor Smith, members of the board, and Superintendent. I know she's not here, so Mr. Stanford. My name is Eva Provenzale McVeigh, and I'm here tonight to speak to you about the constant change in administration at Mays Elementary School. Last week, at a time for celebration, our school found out that Tiffany Getton would not be reassigned to our school. There was a lot of staff and parent pushback on this decision. Initially, Dr. Dixon dismissed our concerns, saying the decision was carefully considered and to embrace the new principal. Dr. Dixon has yet to visit Mays Elementary, and the reason given to assign Mays a new principal was our senior staff likely needed an administrator with more experience. But after pushback, there was a reevaluation of things that could have initially been observed from afar. I understand the new superintendent wants to shake things up, but these reassignments were made without actual observation, research, or consideration for what was best for our school. Multiple parents wrote emails drawing attention to the fact that with a new principal next year, Mays would have had 5 principals in 7 years. Our 5th graders would have had 4 principals since kindergarten. Where is the continuity in that? Was that information carefully considered? Since time wasn't made to observe our school in person, our high principal turnover rate wasn't considered, and research into test scores and staff acceptance wasn't done. What was actually carefully considered prior to our pushback? Were students carefully considered? Was school climate and culture carefully considered? We found a good fit at Mays. Our students and staff deserve someone who wants to be there. Parents were not willing to stand by as the district disrupted something that worked. But if we didn't advocate for our school, what would have happened? The decision made by our new superintendent to replace our principal would have been completely overlooked. We fought for our school, but what about other school reassignments? Were any of the placements carefully considered or just decided based on where it was easiest to place the reassigned directors? Reconsidering and ultimately changing the decision to assign a new principal to Mays built clout within our community. It showed us that the district is willing to listen. And I will say that we had a positive meeting with Ms. Gillison this evening, and we really truly appreciate that the next right choice was made. We feel like we were heard, but it shouldn't have been this hard. To quote a friend, although the outcome was good, the process was terrible. Moving forward, this district has to do a better job actually considering schools, the consequences of decisions made, and take placement and really all decisions seriously. We thank you for your time, and thank you for listening, and thank you for hearing us when we said this was not the right choice for our school.
Thank you. Thank you very much for taking the time to come down. And I read every one of your emails, and I felt the passion, and I see it tonight. So thank you for your advocacy on behalf of your school. Any clarifying questions, board members? Mr. Vice President?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you so much, Ms. Provenzali. I too read your many emails. My clarifying question is this: what criteria would you recommend for consideration in either the placement or retention of a principal? What kind of criteria would you recommend to us?
I think actually seeing the school, actually interacting with parents and talking to staff tells you more than what, numbers from, especially from a first-year principal can tell you. If you walk into the building at our school, it's a totally different environment than it was with previous principals. I apologize. I am very passionate, and when I started when my daughter started at Mays, I started volunteering, and the first principal discouraged me from coming in to volunteer. And I currently volunteer 5 days a week. I don't only volunteer in her class, I really do care about community. I really do care about building where my daughters are going to grow up. It matters to me. So that's why I don't send my kids to a school that is in a different neighborhood where the kids are all a little bit different than her as far as, or I guess maybe all a little bit the same is a better way to say it. Like, they're all a little bit different different than the kids that go to her school. I don't want my kid to go to the schools that everyone looks at as the best school in the city if it's not our school. I want every school to be able to be the best school in the city. I want parents to be able to advocate for their schools. So I guess to answer your question, I feel like going into the schools, actually finding out from teachers if they're happy, looking at the report cards that the principals get, talking to the PTO would be a great way to know, is this principal doing a good job? And I understand that that's not how every decision is made, but I feel like the only thing that was looked at was, we have a senior staff, let's put somebody senior over there.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other clarifying questions, colleagues? Seeing none. Again, thank you very much for coming down this evening. We appreciate the time you took.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Have a good night. That concludes public testimony for this evening, colleagues. And let's move on then to hear from our Deputy Superintendent. Our superintendent is out of town, so Dr. Stanford is sitting in. Dr. Stanford?
Mr. President, members of the board, there is no report this evening.
Very good. Thank you. Let's move on then to our internal auditor. Madam Internal Auditor, have you a report for the board this evening?
Co-members of the board, I do not have a report this evening.
Thank you. And sitting in very capably for our treasurer is our controller. Mr. McCammon, have you a report this evening?
President Baker, Vice President Cole, yes, or no, I have no report.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. Colleagues, let's prepare to consider our consent agenda. Is there a motion that we adopt it as it has been presented? So moved. Moved and seconded. Colleagues, any questions or comments on any pieces of legislation contained within the consent agenda this evening? All right, hearing none, seeing none. Controller, please call the roll.
Ms. Gibbs? Mr. Ragland?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Adair? President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. Anything to report related to staff changes or anything this evening on the consent agenda? Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on then to announcements. Colleagues, announcements, points of pride. We may have some, we may have some photographs that we will share. So it's been a great couple days with graduations. So actually, I'm going to ask Ms. Gibbs to speak to this event.
Yes, on Tuesday, are those the two flyers I'm looking at for Mr. Barner? Yeah, okay. Oh, yes. On Tuesday, May 28th, as a part of the 100-day listening tour, we were able to bring together an amazing array of African-American male organizations and our student performers to have a community conversation and celebration for Dr. Talisa Dixon. It was hosted by the King Arts Complex. The MC was our very own Angela Pace, South High alum, and the organizations that were in partnership were Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, Iota Phi Theta Fraternity, and the SIMBA program of Franklin County Children's Services. All together, it was a audience full, primarily of men who were there to ask questions, to share their ideas and suggestions for Dr. Dixon on how we can move forward with a successful administration, understanding the concerns of men, and it's particularly African American men and boys. It was an amazing, it was just an amazing event, and we were glad that not only did we walk away with good conversation and reception, but we had suggestion cards that the administration is reviewing so that they can respond and reply to all of those who offered questions. So we do thank the King Arts Complex, the men of the Divine Nine and Franklin County Children's Services for joining us on that evening, and it was absolutely well received.
Absolutely, and kudos to W. Shauna Gibbs for doing a lot of the organization of that event. It was an amazing evening, and an outpouring of support is what I saw for Dr. Dixon, and a lot of people with their hands up saying, how can we help? Which was just an amazing thing to see and hear.
There were also the women, the sororities, and just regular everyday community people. It was open to the community at large, and so the King Arts Complex Theater was filled with people from all across our community.
Absolutely.
So thank you to everyone who came out.
Yes,
and to
ma'am.
Mr. Barner and to Terry Anderson on our side who helped pull some details together. We do thank them too.
Definitely, thank you. Any other comments on that special event, Mr. Ragland?
Yes, I'd like to just echo your comments, Board President Baker, and thanks and debt of gratitude to Ms. Gibbs for bringing that group together. It was a wonderful occasion, one that I feel will be very productive long-term for the district, because there were action items that came out of that, and we had commitments from organizations that will be held to task in making sure that we execute on those. And it was just a Herculean job to get those groups together, but it was done with grace and dignity, and I thank you for including me in that occasion, and looking forward to seeing the work that gets done following it.
Absolutely. Any other comments, Mr. Vice President?
Just very quickly, and thank you so much for working with putting this together and coordinating it. I was also appreciative of the fact that Mayor Ginther was there, stayed through the entire event, and showed his support and commitment to Columbus City Schools and to the community as a whole, that he took enough interest in this to make sure that he was there to show fidelity to what true partnership is. So I thank the city of Columbus as well.
Absolutely.
For your leadership in that area. And as we as a district heard the concerns, he as the mayor heard the concerns, because we sit in communities and neighborhoods. We sit all over this city. There's no place you can't go where a Columbus City School building isn't represented, and it sits in a Columbus City neighborhood. And so we do thank the mayor for coming and being totally engaged. From his remarks at the beginning to him taking pictures at the end, he was all in, and we thank him and the other city people. And if you did not know, Board Member James Ragland is a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, and Vice President Cole is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, and they too were incorporated, and they were well represented, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. I never pledged, but Ms. Gibbs told me it's never too late. So any other comments on that event? All right. Do we have other photographs to show? This is East High. Always an awesome graduation, like all of them are. So that's principal and assistant principals there at East High. A great event, as always. Board Member Reyes?
That's West High School ROTC.
Very good.
Centennial.
Very nice.
Afrocentric or valedictorian, he had an amazing speech. He covered A through Z, didn't have nothing written down. He talked about from kindergarten to high school to every student. Teachers were ducking because they didn't want him to talk about them. But you know what? He shared which I guess was the biggest. Every year, our students get to share their stories. This year, I felt the impact of their stories. He shared how he lost his parents and he was raised by his grandparents, and even through all that, he was still able to accomplish valedictorian, has his school paid, he's ready to go. Other students talked about being homeless, and there's just a lot of resiliency in our students, and particularly in Afrocentric, we had 2 students that were supposed to graduate last year. They could have quit. They could have just turned in the towel. They actually were sitting right next to their fellow students for class of 2019. More than ever, our students really need our community to be around them and continue to support them, because they're succeeding in spite of. But imagine how many more could do well if we continue to support them. And all over the district, we heard about 94, 96, 100% graduation classes, and that is unbelievable. Just our backs hurt, our legs hurt from standing up, and our arms hurt from shaking so many kids' hands. I think one night it had to have been about 420 kids in one night. But it's just an extraordinary moment to be in the presence of stellar kids.
Absolutely. Ms. Gibbs?
Hey, Centennial High School, and that would be Christopher Street, representing Centennial, the amazing teaching staff, the incredible leadership that for the second year in a row had 100% graduation rate in that cohort. That is a round of applause. 100% for 2 years in a row. And as we say on the stage, we're here to just add one more voice to what you've been hearing all year long. We're here to just celebrate the hard work that it takes, but particularly for Centennial and Ms. Porta and her incredible staff who were on the stage, well choreographed, it's a well-oiled machine. How the students picked who gave them their diploma, and each interaction was authentic and engaging. And when you can call the names and you barely need to look at your paper because you know this student, you've worked with this student, you've been with this student. So seeing, of course, my nephew Chris and the amazing T Street, it was just a crowning achievement. One of the high points of this class is that 13 years ago, we came in together. I was a new board member, they were kindergartners, and so we're going out together, right? And so this has been the class that I've impacted the most with the policies, with the changes. Like we've started and we're gonna end this journey together. And so it's just an amazing moment, and like you said, so many of our students and our classes were able to bring 99, 100% for Centennial of their cohorts across the stage, and they really did celebrate. So it was a very high moment.
Yes, ma'am.
In particular in that class, I forgot to mention, the first seat was left empty with a cap and gown because they did lose a student earlier in the year. So she was honored with an empty seat. So again, just identifying the stuff that our kids are going through.
Right. All right.
Yay!
Now, Board Member Reyes, you want to talk about this?
Sure. So, one of the other boards I have the fortunate joy of serving is the CAPA Board, Columbus Association for the Performing Arts. And this year, and I've mentioned it in several of the upcoming the past meetings, they have brought the Jimmy Awards to Columbus. And they call, in each of the regions, it is called differently. Here they were called the Marquee Awards. And 10 schools were selected from around Columbus and the vicinity for several different Best Actor, Supporting Actor, Actress, and so forth. But our Eastmore Academy, somebody needs to say EA, since Alicia's not here, got both Best Musical Production and Outstanding Ensemble. And like one of our students said, we are fortunate to have an all-black cast and be recognized for the hard work. Their teacher also talked about how he had been wanting this for a long time, and it just shows the resiliency of our students and the need for funding of the arts. These are all the ensembles. They had Seussical, they had Into the Woods, Mamma Mia from Pickerington North. So these are all the kids. They actually rehearsed 4 days prior and had a opening number and a middle number with the top actor and actress and an ending number, and had people fly in from outside the city to come and choreograph their dance moves, and actually brought back one of a former student that is now on Broadway, and they talked about 2 of the current kids on Broadway were winners of the Marquee. So the 2 kids that won, the female and the male leads, are now going to go to New York, and they're going to be in a 9-day Broadway training with professionals, choreographers, producers, lighting, to eventually bid for a casting of one of the Broadway plays. So they might actually be on Broadway soon. Another thing that CAPA did for this is the lighting and the production was also ran by students. So when you walk backstage, the kids were running the lights and the curtains, and using CAPA's very expensive equipment. So it was great to see our young minds. And when we're talking talent, I don't know what they're gonna, I know they taped it, but these kids' voices and dancing and performance, top notch. You would have thought you were on Broadway in New York, listening and hearing folks off Broadway and on Broadway. So just a great night, and kudos to Eastmore, and I'm hoping that maybe we can fit one of their acts here in our next meeting.
Yes,
Very good.
let's do that.
And I think that may conclude the photos. Mr. Ragland?
Certainly, I'd like to publicly thank Mrs. Gillison and Dr. Keisha Fletcher Bates and everyone from the district who had anything to do with the Reimagine Me conference, particularly Superstar Judy Wright for her organization of last night's and this morning's event. I was thoroughly blessed by the opportunity to participate in Reimagine Me. It was packed. The house was packed. Our teachers, our staff, our students did an outstanding job over 2 days in engaging with each other in relevant conversations and relevant trainings. And it was one of the most enriching, enthusiastic environments that I've been a part of since my time on the board. And just kudos to this team that would put something like that together, to see the enthusiasm on the faces of our students as well as our teachers. Just really gave me a lot of energy, and that team was working very hard over the last 2 days. I'm imagining that they're all somewhere taking a well-deserved nap because of the work that they have been doing. But if you ever get an opportunity to participate in that, the trainings are outstanding. Some of them are student-conducted trainings.
We have some terrific, very talented young people here in Columbus City Schools that are on display, giving information right back to the people who have taught them how to do it. And it's just an amazing environment for our district, a positive example of the spirit of success of Columbus City Schools. And I want to publicly thank everyone who was involved in putting that on and participating. Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brown, did I see your hand?
Yes, just very briefly. Having participated in high school graduations over many, many years, one of the things that I was struck by this year, more than I think in a long time, was the students, whether it was at the I Know I Can event or the graduations or in talking to students, this year seemed to demonstrate far more compassion, far more interest in helping people. It was less an orientation toward, I want to go get a good job and make a lot of money, and much more an orientation to seeing where they could travel in this world or travel in this country and make a difference, helping people and doing the right things. And I was so pleased and impressed with that. It just not something that I've seen to this extent in quite a few years, and I'm very appreciative for it.
Yeah, thank you for calling that out. Ms. Gibbs, you have a follow-up on that?
I have to say one thing to Board Member Brown's point, and I will promise to bring the photo. At the Founder Scholars, the I Know I Can Founder Scholarship Reception, they brought back the class of 2014 who graduated this year, right? The one person in that cohort was Sarah Speller. Sarah Speller was the student designee for innovation and reform. She is graduated from Yale, and she is on her way to Oxford, England. She is on her way to Oxford. And if we can catch her, I would love to bring her beforehand.
100% graduation.
Yeah, 100% college graduation for our Founder Scholars. On her way to Oxford from Mifflin High School, right? Mifflin. And she was amazing. So, and she got to Yale and, became an activist, and whatever happened at Yale, I look on her Facebook page, she right in front. I was like, baby, don't get arrested. Please don't get arrested. But she wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered to her. She was standing up for what she believed, earned that full ride, and will be in Oxford, England. And to your point, it just, the young people, that we're sending forth in the world, in the classes that we were able to hear from, they are about changing this world and making it better, and being able to touch and make sure they leave it better than they found it. One of the best introductions I've ever had was from Andrew Pierce at my graduation, and he talked about things that had, that wasn't on the bio, just things that were valuable to me. And he called and did an interview and talked about, our work in serving homeless families, like no one ever hones in on. And so it just tells us that our children are listening. We are getting closer to fulfilling our mission, where they're not just thinking about who they are in their check, but they really are thinking about being citizens in a global community. And it was inspiring. I shed tons of tears to Siobhan Reed at COS, who they honored. They honored a lot of students that didn't make it to graduation, but in every ceremony unique and different, yet inspiring. Very inspiring.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Mr. Vice President, and then Ms. Adair.
Thank you so much. I want to share my additional pride, because that young lady that graduated from Mifflin, I co-officiated that graduation ceremony where I acknowledged her. She's a special young lady. Her mother passed away while she was still a student. She was from a different state. Her mother passed away, and she graduated an orphan, but graduated with loving arms around her. And it's just a testament of what loving arms around you in terms of your students and your staff means to that child. So I'm really excited to know that she's just killing the game. I love it. I wanted to share that I co-officiated 5 different graduation ceremonies this year. Was excited to do that, but I want to particularly point out that I had the opportunity to do that with Dr. Good. So Dr. Good came to the Independence graduation ceremony and handed a student his diploma. One of our National Honor Society students, in fact, and also had the opportunity to do it with Mr. Coneglio, who also came after one of his former students and gave her diploma as well. Just another testimony as to how we are in this together, how this is our shared work, our shared fight, our shared advocacy, and our shared impact. It is. So just a proud moment for me, and I wanted to make sure I had the opportunity to share that experience.
Thank you. Board Member Adair? And then you.
So I too had a wonderful graduation experience for my first graduations. And I was at Linden, Mifflin, Whetstone, and Briggs, and each one was very different, very unique, and very wonderful. I did want to share some of our stats because as a district we are amazing, right? And so we graduated, and more to come because we still have summer graduation, okay? So this is not even the final number, okay? We graduated 2,403 students as of May 30th. Our students earned over $61 million in scholarships. That is success right there, right? And then they also did over 549,000 hours of internships, which is, again, preparing our students to meet the success of the workforce and of their future. So those numbers are truly amazing and only going to get bigger because we still have more graduates to celebrate this summer. I did want to mention, kind of off graduation, because that was totally amazing, but I did also want to mention to our families out there that the Go Lunch program is up and running. So even though we don't have our yummy school lunches, you can still get yummy lunches and breakfasts very similar to your school lunch through the Go Lunch program that is sponsored through the Columbus Recreation and Parks Department. If you actually take your phone out and text food to 877-877, you will get a message back to tell you where the nearest location for you to get your yummy breakfast and lunch. So make sure that our community listening, you guys know that, you share that information through your Facebook pages and your nonprofits and just with your neighbors and friends to make sure all of our kids have that healthy food this summer. The library also has their reading program and they kicked off. They have really fun prizes to win, and so make sure everyone signs up. It's absolutely free, you just need a library card. So lots of reading this summer, and I think our kids are ready. My kid's ready anyway for the summer. But thank you all.
Thank you. Board Member Reyes?
So, thank you, President Baker. On behalf of the Public Engagement Committee, just wanted to make a couple announcements of things that are going on this summer, and I'll probably repeat it again in the next meeting. Just in June, July, August, if you have turned on the tube, you know that Channel 4 is promoting Stuff the Backpack. So making sure that we have backpacks at the start of the year. I know it's hard to be talking about the beginning of the year when the year just finished, but the work is never over. So we are looking for volunteers to help out the Columbus Zoo every Wednesday in June to collect backpacks. So there are opportunities to volunteer at the Columbus Crew Game and other events throughout the summer. Also, as we just passed our resolution for Columbus Pride Parade, please join teachers, staff, district leaders, students, community partners, friends, family, alumni, and allies as we march through the downtown on June 15th. I believe we're there at 9 a.m., 9:30. Look at it, it's on our, I'm sorry, 10:30. I have it right in front of me. Step off is 10:30, so you gotta be there at 10, and they block off the streets, so make sure that you're there on time. Wear very, very, very comfortable shoes. Always be prepared for rain. And one of the favorite things that I like to do is we do bring books, and we pass those out to the kids as they're sitting there, and we encourage them to continue their summer reading. Also, our students, in the summer, you can still also get summer volunteer hours. So your hours that you need to put in, so the African American Male Wellness Walk will be on August 10. This year, Columbus City Schools will sponsor a passion team, so you'll get a free T-shirt for everyone who participates. And then through the Kappa sponsorship, we also have the Festival Latino. It's a free, family-focused 2-day event that brings families together from across our city to celebrate Ohio-based Latino dance and music, children's activities, and more. This year, the event is August 10th and 11th, so you can volunteer to help our Columbus Spanish Immersion Academy share the love of reading by helping to pass out multi-language books. So a lot of opportunities for us, for our kids to volunteer. If you have any questions, please visit our website. If you want to sign up, please let us know.
Thank you very much, Board Member Reyes. Board Member Gibbs. Oh, yes. I wondered if you were going to ask about that. Summer school. Is anyone prepared to speak about summer school yet, Deputy Superintendent?
Is that time again? It's time for summer school?
Yes, Mr. President, members of
Yes,
the
sir.
board, Mr. Danny Graves.
Come on up. Good evening.
Good evening, President Baker, members of the board, Ms. Gibbs. Summer school is up and running. Registration began for our, for our middle school and elementary school students May 1st, and high school began yesterday. Currently, we have over 2,300 students registered for summer school. So,
Is there still room, and where can parents sign up?
yes, there is still room. It is an online registration, so they need to go to the Columbus City Schools website and click on the summer school link, and there they can register for summer school. They can also go to Central Enrollment and receive help that way.
Awesome. Have we pushed this information out to our community partners and to the libraries?
Yes, they have, and I will turn around and just check with our communications team to verify that.
Okay.
But that information has been shared. We shared it at the Children's Day event, and like I said, it's on the district website and through the district app as well.
And if they want to call to get more information, who should they call?
So I'm tempted to ask Michelle Klein to give that,
Yes.
give that number since she does it so well, but they can call the summer school office at 614-365-5010. And I'm hear her clicking behind me, so I'm gonna let her do it as well.
Thank you, Mr. Graves. The number at Central Enrollment, please note, is 614-365-4011. The important thing to know, though, is we have both translators and a wonderful new system that allows us to do translations in 142 languages. So please feel free to come at any time, and we will meet the needs of all of our parents.
So Dr. Klein, if I have a kindergartner that I need to sign up, do I need to wait till the day before school to sign up?
Oh, Board Member Gibbs, thank you for the question.
Yes.
President Baker, to Board Member Gibbs' question, no, we are in full mode right now. And if you wait until August, it isn't near as fun because your kid doesn't get to have the excitement of knowing where they're going to go and what they're going to do and checking out. We have many schools that actually do some summer orientations and things with the kids. So don't let your kids miss out on those picnics and those get-togethers. This is even for our pre-K kids. So we're even doing our pre-K assessments now, and they are so fun to come into Central Enrollment because they get little gadgets and little things, little gadgets, and then they get all excited so they'll be ready for school.
So if you have a child going into kindergarten, pre-kindergarten, changing schools, or you might need to step into enrollment, you have all summer long to come and visit you, correct?
Absolutely. And remember, we will be open extended nights on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and all-day Saturdays in August and September. But we are there right now with no customers. So you can come right on in and get served immediately. And we've got all the interpretations. So that's a really new, cool online tool that we have, thanks to Michael Sane. And it's working out beautifully.
Thank you both. No line, no waiting. You heard it here first. Please take advantage of it so you're not caught in a back-to-school rush. Thank you, Mr. Graves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Graves. Thank you, Dr. Klein. Anything else for the good of the order, colleagues? Board Member Adair already shared the stats that I was going to share. That's all right. That's me too. That's very important. So do look forward to summer graduation, and Board Member Gibbs has already volunteered to speak at summer graduation, and I'm going to join her if she doesn't mind, since it'll be my last opportunity to speak at a graduation as well.
We can do a remix, I'm good.
Yeah, we'll do it together. All right. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, I'm going to ask, oh, you know what we should do? We should thank all of our staff who are here. No.
If we don't thank Vinnie Clarno, Mr. Clarno.
Is he here?
No, he's home recuperating, I'm sure. And what he thinks is going to get past this, but at the very next meeting, we want to recognize Dr. Vincent Clarno. He got his PhD. Yes.
All right.
So at the next meeting, I think it's fitting he coordinates, and when I say it is a 3-4 day show, we started Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And from the beginning, from the very first student that walked down the aisle to turning off the lights in the convention center and the Schottenstein on Saturday, he is there, and somehow he makes it to the beginning of like every single ceremony. It's a tremendous feat, and everyone and all of the administrators and staff that take part in it to help it go, thank you, thank you, thank you, but we definitely can't overlook Dr. Clarno.
Thank you for that. And, yes, sir. Dr. Stanford.
That's also in addition to his duties with the athletic sports in the spring as well, and state championships, and making sure that our kids are getting to the different activities.
Absolutely. Ms. Gibbs.
And as we think about the calendar, every year we run into the state track meet. So if there is ever a year we can miss that, that would be awesome. So that kids aren't running in their track clothes, because they do run in after their feet. And right to the track.
Right to the track, right across the street.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes, congratulations to all of our spring athletes. We had several state champions from Columbus City Schools this year at our state track meets, and we've done a really good job with athletics this year, to Mr. Clarno's point and under his direction. But congratulations to everyone that participated in spring athletics.
Absolutely. And then before I ask the Vice President to offer a motion, I'd like to ask everybody who is an employee of Columbus City Schools, whether you're a teacher, administrator, bus driver, whatever you do, if you're an employee of the district, please stand so that we can recognize you. So another great school year, and that doesn't happen without all hands on deck. So every single one of you helped to make that possible. So, Board, we want to offer our gratitude to all of you for another great school year. And having said that, Mr. Vice President, you prepared to offer a motion?
Yes, Mr. President. A motion that the board recess into executive session per section 121.22 G3 of the Ohio Revised Code to confer with an attorney for public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action, and section 121.22 G4 of the Ohio Revised Code to prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms of conditions of their employment.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Controller?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Ms. Adair. President Baker.
Yes.
Mr. Brown. Vice President Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The board will now recess into executive session. We'll adjourn from those chambers without returning to these. Thank you very much. Have a good night.